the summer festival.
Yeah, and rightly so, Richard. And listen, happily going live here just now on Facebook and on YouTube. This is our Friend at Hand special box. So Friend at Hand special because, quite frankly, you can only buy Friend at Hand whiskies in Belfast. And it's really nice. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at 5 expressions of the Friend at Hand, which are all 13-year-old whiskey, all coming from Bushmills, and yet we have variants of it. So it's different cask manipulation that we have. Then we've got a Powers, we've got the Redbreast, and we've also got the Middleton, and we've got a wee cheeky number in here at the very end, which I managed to prize out of Ecklinville. So looking forward to it. We've got a lovely lineup and some great guests who have joined us on the live feed through the Microsoft Teams, which again you're more than welcome. If you're on Facebook or you're on Instagram and you've seen the link, you can come in and join us. But yeah, we're going to crack on. We're going to start, and obviously this kind of goes in a certain type of order, you know. So we've got the first ones are all the 13-year-olds, and it's nice just to see these. What we have here in the first one, number 24. So that's bottle 24 for everyone. Is the original, the Reconciliation, okay, which is just bourbon cask, 46%. All right, and all the liquid that deviates now is from this. So this is the original. Nice to have a 13-year-old Bushmills liquid, and particularly 46%. You know, when we think of the standard bottlings that come out of Bushmills, you know, 46% is not standard for them. Just great fruit on the nose. This is just super fruit, lots of fruit, and a lovely vanilla note coming across. There's nothing nasty about that. That is very, very pretty. Very pretty. And that's what I was, you know, we couldn't expect anything other than that. You know, I think I've mentioned a couple of times actually how difficult it is to ruin a Bushmills whiskey. Hard to ruin it. So the guys at the Friend at Hand, we've got Willie Jack who owns the Friend at Hand, along with you know, the pubs in the same area. So we've got the Duke of York, the Hart Bar, and also the Dark Horse. And Willie is really, really, really keen on Irish whiskey. Although not a big drinker, he's a keen enthusiast of the history of it, of the I suppose the different types. And the Friend at Hand is a shop which is solely for Irish whiskey. They don't sell any other type of alcohol in there other than Irish whiskey. Now, there might be some Scottish labels, which is interesting, and that's only because they have a connection directly to Ireland. Maybe it's because a local pub bottled them, but everything in there is Irish. It's like a museum. You know, I would hate to value the contents of the Friend at Hand. The amount of alcohol that's in there, it generally is an opportunity, if you're in Belfast, to come in, to have a look. Yes, there's a lot of new product, a lot of new whiskey that's coming out, and that's there for you to buy. But then there's the corner, which is glass cabinets full of whiskey, you know, from late 1800s all the way through to where we are just now. Most of it not for sale, most of it for you to have a good look at. But yeah, timeless. And you know what? It's great to have that in Belfast. It's great to have a shop which dedicates, you know, the history and obviously the emphasis on Irish whiskey specifically. They know the importance of Belfast and Irish whiskey history, which is really good. So yeah, and if you've never seen some of these old bottles, yeah, you know, you'd be amazed. I mean, I know we've got a rebranding of McConnell's. That's interesting. But there's original bottles in the shop of McConnell's. We've got original Dunville's bottles, and again, Ecklinville have come out with the Dunville range. But you know, seeing those original bottles in all their glory, really random bottles that you probably never heard of, which are like likes of Old Crow, from the Cromac distillery. You've got Mitchell's, Hunters, I'm trying to think. There's a massive amount of labels that you'll never see because they just don't exist anymore. And then we've got all of the Jamesons and Bushmills that you can imagine. The very old Powers bottles. So yeah, it's a place to go and visit, and you cannot buy their whiskey or their labellings or their single cask offerings outside of the shop. So they don't have an online presence. They want you to come, and obviously at the moment that's not possible, although they have been open. So because they're on off license, they've had the opportunity to be open. So yeah, so look, I think the nose is great. I don't have any complaints. Yeah, ooh. And it's a lovely, lovely spice, you know, coming through. Certainly on the initial taste, very warm. You know, it's a very warm whiskey. A little bit of heat on it coming through there.
Very clean.
It's super clean. It is super clean. You know, it's I think to give provenance of where this whiskey has kind of come from. So obviously from Bushmills, but indirectly it's been with niche drinks. So the guys who Kieran Mulgrew, I've mentioned him before. Kieran Mulgrew, who was the brainchild behind Quiet Man whiskey. He is the again he would have been the owner of niche drinks who produced St Brennan's Irish liqueur, which goes out to the States predominantly. I think it's the largest. I think it outsells Bailey's in the States. I might be corrected on that, but I believe they are a massive competitor for Bailey's worldwide, as it were. And their, whiskey for the cream for the cream liqueur comes from Bushmills. So the whiskey that they've had available to them over the years for a long time has been Bushmills whiskey. So Kieran obviously has done a deal with friend at hand with Willie Jack and made sure that there's been a constant amount of 13-year-old Bushmills liquid. So the Bushmills liquid is not sourced directly from Bushmills; it's coming through a secondary party, which allows. Yep, there's a Quiet Man. Cheers, Charlie. That's actually really good. That Oloroso sherry cask. Quiet Man is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, really good. Charlie, you're on mute. Sorry.
I actually bought that one at friend at hand.
So you bought it in the friend? Brilliant.
Yeah, and it's a really, really good whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very impressed by it.
Yeah, no, we rated that really highly. It's definitely, it's one that I would like, and keep in my collection, but I like to drink. Very good. Yeah, so we have this provenance with this liquid. We know it's definitely Bushmills. We know it's been the custodian through the Quiet Man guys, through Kieran Mulgrew, has really done well manipulating it, with the casks. So anyone not liking it? Anyone not liking the Bushmills?
I like it, but there is kind of soapy note in it.
A soapy note?
Yeah, kind of like sandalwood.
Okay.
I find the same note in Glendalough.
Right.
It's something similar between the two.
Okay. I'm not. Yeah. I don't know if I get that, Charlie. And that's not just because I don't get it doesn't mean it's not there. There's some, there's definitely lots of flavors, but I'm trying to. You put me on the spot because I want to criticize it now. I want to find that note if that's the case, I think what you get from this, which is if you have to compare a Bushmills, so again, the only thing that we have very close to this would be a 12-year-old. So we have a 12-year-old reserve. To me, this stands above, head and shoulders above the 12-year-old reserve because of that extra kind of spicy kick, that extra layer of alcohol. I wonder if it's like soapy stuff. I'm not sure if I get that. I get the fact that it's got a spice, you know, and I'm just I don't know if I get the soapiness, but
it's definitely spicy, but there
Mm.
is some kind of floral. It's not soapy in a bad way.
yes,
It's just something floral, woody, something. I can't really describe it.
I'm wondering whether or not any of these cask variants will either enhance that or soften it. I'm not sure, but let's see if that makes any difference. Best thing about this tasting here is we're going to taste these so we can see a change. Same liquid. You know, we don't normally get that. We don't normally get that opportunity with whiskey to see changes. The next one, which is number 25. Oh, Mickey, I'm so sorry that I don't have my crown on again. I know. I'm doing one for the gin though. I'm going to pop my cracker to get my hat for the gin tasting. So we're going to move on to number 25. Okay, so number 25 is the Girona Gold. So each one of these bottles has a name. It has a story behind it. The reconciliation has its own little story, and it's to say to reconcile is to put aside our differences, to have enough courage to extend the hand of friendship, or the strength of character to accept a friend at hand. And there's a big relationship there. Willie Jack has dedicated this series, the Friend at Hand series, to his business partner who unfortunately passed away. And I love the fact that he has such an influence in each one of these stories, each one of these labels, every thought process which has gone into it. They're really detailed bottles. I mean, to have a look at the reconciliation, it has that, and very well embossed, handshake here that they have. If you notice, it's a kind of nod as well, where it says the head office reserve and it says House Street, which actually, if people know their history, where that head office is, it used to be the head office of Bushmills. You used to also have the head office there of Dunvilles as well, on the same road. Yeah. The next one, though, is the number 25. This is the Girona Gold. So the Girona Gold, and it actually has a little pouch, although I don't have it attached. When you buy this bottle, you have a little pouch which is attached to it, which has little rubies in it, and it's the missing rubies of the Girona. So they're Armada rubies, laying dormant for years. A long lost hull, or so it was feared, resurfaced once more. This North Coast treasure, 6 of 9 for good measure. So, he loves to have these little poems, but this is number 6 of actually 13 releases that he has coming out. But yeah, I like the detail. This one, because it's a Girona Gold, this idea of a wee nod to the Armada is then finished off in sherry casks. So, yeah, sherry cask. Yeah. Did you hear? Oh yeah, what type? Interesting. Good question. Now, I believe they were all also sherry casks.
Yeah, drier than PX.
Do you think they were PX?
No, it's drier, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, yeah, because I think they were all also casks that were used. Doesn't say that specifically.
I'm surprised that are also, I suppose.
It doesn't say that. I don't think the PXs were being used. I think, and again, we could take reference that the guys at the Quiet Man were using Oloroso casks specifically. I don't know if they have Pedro Jimenez casks. And what we get in there, I mean, it's a slightly different nose. In fact, it sounds a really strange comparison, but it smells a little bit drier on the nose. You know, that's a weird one. It doesn't. Yeah, slightly drier. A really lovely spicy aroma coming on the nose, though. A peppery spice on the nose. and then a lot more spice this time. You know, so whatever spice that we had there in the reconciliation, it is really enhanced now. Charlie, do we still have that soapiness?
I didn't pour that one because I am still feeling a little
Delicate, a little bit delicate. That's okay. For me, what both of them have, and I'm not sure if it is if it's what you're experiencing, but both of them are creamy. They have a creaminess to them, which I get. I get a creaminess.
It might be the creaminess actually, but to me it's like, I don't know where I have the scent from, but it reminds me of sandalwood. I don't know really.
I think you probably are finding something there. I had a drink yesterday, and I think it was yesterday. Was it one of the rums? Yeah, I'm sure it was one of the rums, but something was making me think of my grandmother's, bathroom. It's amazing, but it's amazing what you find, in these drinks. It's amazing because what you're doing when you're drinking this is that you're conjuring up previous, because first of all, we don't put peppers in here. We don't put pepper spice in here, and yet that conjures that up. Or we don't put apples in here, and yet that conjures that up. So it's your mind with the senses. Maybe it's people telling you as well. Maybe it's there's a little bit of prodding and poking in there. But I think it's to do with memory. I think it's to do with sense, and so you might have invoking a memory, a smell, which will be, pushing in that direction. I don't have an issue with that. I know for a fact if I'm drinking 6 whiskies that are all kind of done the same way, then I know that I'm going to be going, right, there's this. Am I looking for something that's slightly different? Am I looking for something that's, that can separate them? This is separated directly between the first bottle by that extra spice. It actually feels a lot warmer. So I talked about the warmth in the first one. This feels warmer. It feels like there's a heat about it in the mouth. It really opens up inside, and both of them have that creaminess about it. But again, those big fruits. This time I think we've got a little bit of red apple. Slightly different to that greeny apple that I was getting in the first one. This one is more of a crispy, kind of red apple.
Yeah, it's a lot sweeter. There's definitely a lot of sweet flavors to it. That's what that red apple, the crisp apple, Macintosh, it's a sweeter as opposed to a green apple, which is a little more tart.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I've actually just had some apple there for my lunch earlier, and it was red apples, and good Scottish red apples as well. Got them delivered over here. But I really like that sweeter note which comes across here. Are we liking it, Richard Jones? Are we liking it?
Absolutely. This is the one
I picked. That box.
Ricky, you don't have the box. You're here for the crack.
Aye.
I like that, Ricky. I won't bother you then. You can just listen to me.
No, I was in. I'm sure the 2 boxes I got. I wasn't on at all. Didn't have time to come on, so
it's okay.
I thought I would join in.
What boxes did you get, Richard? What boxes did you go for?
12 plus and Irish Premium.
The premium.
Yeah, in fact, I only had my first one of them there last night.
Right. Okay.
So
good boxes. Good boxes to have. Good boxes.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward. Well, I still have stuff from the summer to drink, so some of the premium stuff.
Mad.
I won't be short of a few drinks anyway.
Do you know a couple of people had messaged me about the mystery box post the event. Some of them hadn't made the event, or some of them had watched it back on the YouTube, and were just blown away by about because they weren't expecting some really nice whiskey, which we thought was good. People were just like, nah, I was expecting it just to be really random and shady, but yeah, so I've had some good feedback. But I do believe that the feedback that I got from the 12-year-old box is really positive. Like, really positive.
We opened up, what was it, Green Spot? What's the Green Spot one?
No, there's a red spot in it. There's a red spot 15.
Aye, but this was in the 12-year-old box. 12-year plus. Was there a green spot on it?
There's not a green spot on it. There's a green spot in the premium.
Oh, that's maybe the one that I've opened up.
I
I
think.
definitely had one of the green spots last night. And I haven't had green spot in a long time, actually. And I both of us quite enjoyed it.
Good. Good.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, you can listen away, Richard. I have no issue with that. That's good.
Why not? I have to listen. I haven't seen your bake all winter, all festive season, so.
I know. And listen, here, you listen, Ricky, you helped me out. So, just to put this in the context, Ricky is the man with the van. So, Ricky gave me the keys for his van. Oh, Ricky, something you
This
did.
is where you tell me you crashed it.
No, but you missed. I was on a live chat with Whiskey Novice the other evening, Jim Ingram. So on his YouTube account, and I was invited on as a guest just to say, listen, thanks for the year, blah blah. And I was on and I was telling stories, and Tony Kane's name came up. Tony's based up in Ballymoney, Ballybogey, and I delivered to him during just before Christmas for the festival. And I got home. I'd taken the car, and I got home, and I'd taken everything out my pockets and stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, where's the keys for the van?" It's like, this is weird. Where's the keys for the van? So I went to the car, and I was like, "There's no sign of these keys." I thought, that's really weird. Where could these keys be? So I sent a message to everyone who had delivered to, and I panic mode. Listen, I've lost a set of keys. Here's a picture of the keys. And someone let me know if they found it. And I was freaking out. It's like, I'm going to have to phone Ricky here and tell him I've lost a set of keys. It's going to cost me like 400 quid to get a key replaced. I was really crapping myself. So then Tony messaged me the next morning, saying, don't worry about it. Yeah, I found it outside my house on the path. I was like, thank you. So I had to drive back up to Ballymena and meet him.
Oh, for goodness sake.
But you know what's even nicer, Richard? He actually gave me the key for the van, and he also gave me a little bag of miniature whiskies and a little Bushmills cake.
Lovely.
Now, I didn't give him anything for finding my key. He's given me my key and presents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like a complete dick at this point. I'm like, oh, thanks very much. You've managed to save my skin here. You know what I mean? And yet I've not repaid him. But apparently he's been enjoying the whiskey. So, but yeah, so we nearly had a lost key. But so Ricky gave me the great opportunity for using the van. So that was really important. So we got all the deliveries around Northern Ireland, and predominantly I used the van rather than the car. But cheers, Ricky. Cheers.
No worries. That's what we're here for.
Good.
I absolutely love that you're actually telling Ricky this.
Yes, yeah. I'm not gonna lie about it. It's, and it was public as soon as I was on that live chat. It was public knowledge, and I couldn't get away from it.
Well, you didn't even give me a bit of the cake either.
Sorry, no, I didn't. No, it's actually it's really quite. It's a Bushmills sponge. So there's a wee company up in Bushmills who use the Bushmills Black Bush in their making of the sponge, and they sell it in the distillery. And yeah, I love Fruit Loaf. My granny is from Cushendun, so not that far. Cushendall, not far from Bushmills, and it's the same type of fruit loaf.
It's okay.
Same type of fruit loaf. I've got Matt Morrison's on here. He's asking Paul, really liking the Girona. How much is it at the shop? Do you know what? The Girona they're all in around the same price. They go between about £65 and I think the most expensive is £90. So between 65 and 90, and it's just to do with the cask variants. So probably in around about the £75 mark for the cask variant. And yes, Graham Horner, it's because I was Whiskey Santa. Potentially. Maybe I was Whiskey Santa. Yeah. I definitely am fat enough, and I have a beard. You know what I mean? To be Whiskey Santa, there's no doubt about that. But listen, I'm glad no one disliked that number 25. We're all okay. We're all good. Super. I know my other friends. So Connor, you're on, but we also have another Connor. So Connor Mullahy, I must be in the room because I'm assuming that's who it is. So good to see you, Connor. If that is you, that's not speaking and hiding. All good. Right. So the next one, really different. We're going a wee bit off piste here. So we have the next one's called the Nine Glens. So Nine Glens, and that's a beautiful little label we have here of a viaduct. Now this is really, 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 really interesting, right? And I have a personal connection to this, which was really funny because myself and Willie Jack, when he was telling me this, he gets really excited. Very eccentric, very excitable. Such a love for Belfast, such a love for Northern Ireland, such a love for whiskey. He gets really excited. He wants to tell you everything that's going on, all the plans, everything. And he's sitting there talking to me before this bottle's released, and he's like, "Right, Paul, we're moving on to the next one. We're going to have, we're going for a peated version of the friend at hand." I was like, "This is great," and he's like, "We're going to have the viaduct on the front, and it's going to be the 9 glens. It's going to be about the different glens." So the glens up there. So this is in Antrim. You've got a series of 9 glens. One's called Glenarm, Glenariff, Glencoy, Glencorp, Glenballymon, Glenannan, Glentassie, Glendunt, and Glenchesk. Okay. He got really excited and he started telling me something. And I tried to butt in. Every time he was talking about it, I was trying to butt in because I wanted to tell him something about the bridge, the viaduct. And he just wasn't listening, and it was, I was getting a wee bit frustrated. On the back of the bottle it says here, "Over the big bridge lies such a fine view. Our cousins in the east, rain and winds that cut in two. Back from the peated land, the wee folk reside. Enjoy a dram from the plateau. Come see what's inside." And his idea with this bottling was to have a relationship between the people who live in Antrim and are from Antrim and from the glens or the glens are predominantly made up of people who cross the water continuously between the islands, between Scotland and between the islands, between the Hebrides, and into that part of Ireland. And that was his big thing. He's like, "Yes, and we're going to have peated casks and Islay casks, and that's what we're going to do." So we're using the 13-year-old Bushmills again, 46%. This time we're using to finish it off. We're using Islay casks. I think that there's definitely a colour change here, slightly darker. And I think the interpretation here is to try and have, is to try and have this relationship with peat. Now, in the glens as well. I mean, there's plenty of turf up there, and it's not a million miles away from being able to see that coming back at some point to some of the distilleries in the north. But the smell is so good. So different to these other two. Like, if we're doing a blind tasting and not knowing what we're drinking, that you could be definitely fooled as to thinking this is completely different liquid, particularly from the smell.
Do you know what Islay distillery the cask came from?
I'm going to say Lefroy, but I don't want to 100% say that that's exactly right. I probably could have an answer on that. I probably could message Kieran Mulgrew right now and ask him. I probably could, message Paul O'Hare from the Friend at Hand and ask him. I would suggest that from what I gather about Lefroy is that Lefroy are very good at getting their casks out there. That's what I hear. I hear the casks move from Lefroy very quickly. There's been a lot of Irish whiskey which uses Lefroy casks specifically. So, but yeah, do we like the smell in that? The nose is great. I think the absolutely hint of peat. It's not overpowering. It's just a lovely sweetness. And actually, a very tame but a very sweet and fruity Islay. If you were thinking about in that respect, it's very, very good. Like that.
Get that kind of iodine on the back end though.
Very much so in the finish.
Yeah.
Jesus, right. I mean, right at the back of your throat.
That's why I was thinking it was actually the brewing casks. I was asking because it does have that kind of brewing massive iodine.
Yeah, very much so. I like that though. I mean, I'm going to be very, very controversial when it comes to peat. I'm a massive peat fan, and like I think there's not that many peaty whiskies that don't do it for me. You know, every Islay whiskey I like. You know, I'm not put off by any of them. A lot of people get surprised because I actually like even some of the Islay whiskies which have zero peat or zero peat influence on them. You know, but yeah, I like that. I really like that. I love smokiness. Richard, is this something you're keen on? Are you keen on this?
I'm in the Barry Chandler camp of I don't like peat.
Do you know what? He's very honest. At least he's honest about it. Doesn't he like the peat?
Trying it. I've tried it, and I give it its fair due, and I do. It is a taste profile that you have to appreciate, and it's one I do not appreciate. And for peated whiskey, I would say this is very, very subtle, and for that I like it. But if I were forced to drink a peated whiskey, I would go for this. This is definitely a very nice rounded flavor, and you can get the Irish does poke its head above the peat. It isn't peat dominant, it isn't peat forward.
No, definitely not, and it's kind of cheating. You know, if we're gonna be very honest about it, it's kind of cheating, isn't it? You know, it's not peated whiskey. You know, it's whiskey which has been manipulated by a peated cask. You know, or a whiskey or a peated whiskey which has been in a cask. So it's cheating, and it's really good like that because it doesn't overpower the whiskey. The whiskey is this Bushmills green apple DNA. There's a little bit of that spice. You're still getting a little bit of spice on the front of the tongue, that little lovely white peppery kind of note, which is really, really nice. And yet that the smokiness, I mean, it actually stays within your mouth for a little bit longer than I imagined, just with the cask influence. The nose does not give it away as being peated, which I think is really interesting. This is not the first Irish whiskey that I have had where on the nose they're telling you it's peat, and yet on the nose I couldn't tell you it's peat because I'm used to Scottish whiskies being peated on the nose as well, and yet when we get into the taste, there's peat there. Oh, there's that smokiness. You know, we get that. There's a really nice bottle from Berry Brothers and Rudd, which is now illegal. You're not allowed to buy it. So if people buy it and they've been sold it in retail, they shouldn't have been, because it was taken off the market because it was marketed as an Irish whiskey, and it wasn't. It was an Irish whiskey, but they didn't conform to the rules. So basically, the Irish whiskey had been taken away from Ireland and bottled, and Berry Brothers and Rudd had bottled a bottle using Irish whiskey from Cooley, and again finishing off in Lefroy casks. 10 years old. The nose on it, you could not tell that there was any peat at all. Nothing, not a hint. Beautiful Turconnell liquid coming through in the nose, and then as soon as you drunk it, I mean, an absolute change in senses, and all of a sudden you got that, you know, the frog at the back of the throat, dominating the back of the throat. Really, really interesting. So I'm liking it. There's similar Irish whiskey at the moment, which is playing around with the cask rather than, you know, the liquid itself. But I'm assuming 5 years time, 10 years time, you're going to see actual peated whiskey, so the peated distillates coming through, and that's going to be, for me, that's going to be a big tell. Can Irish whiskey go back to what it used to be? Can Irish whiskey get back to a point where it was peated whiskey and people appreciated peated whiskey? Do you know what I mean? Because actually, I think that, you know, historically, that's what people would have known over 100 years ago. So, is it my favourite of the three so far? No, I'm not sure. I would go back to the Girona all day long. So far, I like it though. I like it because it's comforting. It's got that, you know, sit by the fireside. You genuinely do think you could be there. And also, and coming back to my personal connection to this bottle, I was literally trying to like tell Willie, look, there's something really cool about this. You've put a bridge on here. which is the viaduct. Now, I told you my family are from that kind of area, but there is a direct connection to this bridge. So this bridge here, the Nine Glens Bridge, which is close to Cushendun, cuts across the Glen. If people go and read the bridge, there's a plaque on it, and the engineer on the plaque is a Mr. Kane, and my last name would be Kane, wouldn't it? So that'd be a wee bit like there's a massive connection there with my family in that local area and the engineer specifically. Now that might be a tedious link, but I'm all for a tedious link. Like, you know, I'll quite happily say that I feel a personal connection to this bottle, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy that that's the case. Generally does make you feel.
You're building bridges to the whiskey community.
Sorry?
And you're building bridges to the whiskey community.
Do you know, that's it? I don't want to be known as Whiskey Santa. I want to be known as the guy who builds whiskey bridges. That's exactly it. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you. But no, do you know what? I was really enthused with him. You know, as I'm saying, that for those that don't know Willie Jack, when you ever get to meet him, so if you're in Belfast and you're in the Friend at Hand or the Duke of York or wherever, he's there. He's always there. He's at work. That's his businesses. You know, he's always there, and he's just such a guy, like an absolute gent, an absolute star, and very enthusiastic about the entire history of Irish whiskey, particularly in Belfast. But and has so many stories to tell. You can imagine the establishments that have where those stories are coming from. The next one, The Fighting Irish. Loved the title of it. Thought it was absolutely brilliant. And actually, again, this is about, we're about history here. You know, he's talked about the Girona goal. He's talked about the Armada smashing up off the Antrim coast. He's talked about the Nine Glens and about the relationship between Scotland and Ireland, and everyone moving back and forth between the two countries and the islands. And now he's talking again, historically, he's talking about, we're looking at the war here. So we've got, on this bottle here, we've got two badges. Okay, so we've got two different regiments, one of the Irish army and one of the British army that we talk about here. And it says, The Friend at Hand, for the 16th and the 36th. Orange and green, sides not known to yield, foes at home, but not on this field. The terror of war, not one could foresee, lived, fought, and fell together for the cause of the free. And talks about the fact that, you know, yeah, there might be a lot of absolute bollocks in terms of the political agenda here in this country, and maybe what's happening and has happened over many years. But actually, there was a time when, certainly when, it doesn't matter your colour, your creed, whatever it was, you know, that people came together, you know, and certainly through those initial wars, those world wars, that people fought side by side. Didn't matter who you were fighting for your freedom. So you know, so he looks at that, you know, he gives us an insight into that kind of history. Again, the bottle, I believe, comes with an attachment. I don't have it with me, but I think it comes with attachment with the dog tags. This idea of dog tags, of the soldiers' tags, from that period. Really nice. Anyway, look, this one is finished off in selected wine casks, French oak. You're going to ask me what wine? Yeah. No, I don't have a clue. It was good that you asked that question. I'm glad that someone asked that.
I'd go out on a limb and say probably Chardonnay.
Sure, I really don't know. It's
like a red anyway.
I would say that again, Connor.
Certainly doesn't look like a red.
It doesn't look like a red.
It's a white.
Interesting. Yeah, do you know what? I have had that discussion with them, and I just can't recall. And it doesn't allude to it on the bottle, you know, to say that. I'm not sure that it has to, but it would be nice to find out. So I maybe will just have a wee message here just to Paul, just to ask that quick question. So I'm sure we could get answers straight back from him. But yeah, it's really each one of these noses. I mean, it's very again subtle change between the first one and this one. There's a subtle change there. But the other two, very, very, very clearly different on the nose. At 46%, it comes across a little bit more alcohol, which is really strange. And I had a reference to this. Someone was talking about, using wine casks, and somehow that it just maybe sometimes just tasting more alcoholic from the wine cask, which is really strange. And I don't know how that comes across, because that's scientifically not a thing. When these are getting tested before they go into bottles, they're tested at that point. That's the alcohol content, but it definitely comes across more alcoholic than the previous ones.
Yeah, there's a little more peppery to this.
Yeah, a lot more spice.
Mm-hmm.
When that spice, instead of just being on the front of the tongue, is across the whole tongue. It's across the whole mouth. In fact, it goes up into the top of the mouth and into the absolutely everywhere. It doesn't stop. It goes into the gums. It kind of shoots up in there. Are we still convinced it's a white wine cask? I'm asking him here just now. I just want to see if we can get an answer. What were the casks used? Do you know, I should have asked him before I did this, because I knew it was a question that would have come up. It's one of those questions.
How pale the liquid is, I'd be shocked if it was red wine casks.
Well, we shall find out soon. He's usually quite good at replying, although it is the summer holidays, isn't it? Summer holidays, the winter holidays. Here we go. I tell you what, I can notice the sun down where you're, Connor, as well. You're not that. Obviously, we're on the same island. We've got the same sun. You know what I mean? It's the same. It's bright today. It is bright.
I'm only down the road in Cavan, surely.
Sure, it's only 5 minutes away in Cavan. You're only 5 minutes away.
Something's wrong with the world when it's sunny in Ireland and it's pouring down rain in Texas.
Oh, Texas has rain. I've never.
It doesn't rain here.
But strangely enough, for the 3 days I was in Texas, 3 days I was in Dallas, but maybe across the course of the week, I was in Texas. I didn't see any rain. But I didn't see rain. Strangely enough, I didn't see a lot of rain in America. And I was there for about 4 months, and I don't remember a lot of rain. Don't remember a lot of rain at all. And I was primarily I was in that kind of Dust Bowl kind of area. That I was in Oklahoma, and then I kind of travelled around the place. But the only time I saw rain, in fact, I was in Tulsa. So this is probably going way off piste here, but I was in Tulsa, and I'd borrowed a friend's car, and he was in the car, but I was driving. So I didn't, I as a young person, loved to drive around whatever country I was in. I like to drive around it. I wanted to get a good experience of it. So I was driving his car, automatic. So it was the first time I've been driven an automatic, and not used to that here in the UK. Although I do drive automatics now, and I have done for the last 10 years. I've been driving automatics for 10 years. But then, no idea what was going on. And we'd gone to the one of these big malls in Tulsa, and we're coming back. And it was a beautiful day. I mean, really gorgeous sunshine, really lovely day. And it got to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're heading back, and all of a sudden the sky went black. And I'm like, what's going on? It was nice and sunny a minute ago. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this blackness came, and then this water came. It was just water. It wasn't rain. It was just water. I was like, what the? Yeah. And every car in front of me had a red light on, was braking. And I was like, what's going on? So I thought, I better brake as well. And then I realised that there was that much water underneath my car that the brake was futile. You know, I just then aquaplaned. But being the mad Scotsman that I was, I thought that's no bar. I learnt to drive when it snowed. I literally live in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. I learnt to drive in the snow. In fact, I drove most of the time in the snow during the winter period. And I thought, I know what to do. Don't worry about that. I'll just veer left here. I'll veer left. I'll aquaplane into the curb, and I'll be fine. No, I forgot I was in the States, eh? So I forgot where I was, and all of a sudden, there's me aquaplaning across 3 lanes of oncoming traffic. Now, at this point, I've got my friend in the car, I've got 3 girls in the back who are all screaming, because all they see is these other cars coming towards us. And I get to one side of the road and I realise, I'm like, oh my God, this is a bad thing. And because I have no control of the vehicle other than to turn the vehicle, I have this opportunity to take it back to where I came from. So I take it back to where I come from. And I, by pure chance, by the grace of God, didn't hit any cars, but got to the very edge of the road, missed a stop sign for, about that, got to the edge of the road, and that was us stopped. The car stopped. And I'm turning around at my mate going, Jesus, sweating here. They're all crying. And then the car, and I know we're going miles away, but the car then does this. It's sitting straight, and then it just falls into a ditch. And running along the side of the frickin' freeway was one of these, aqueduct things. Do you know what I mean? Like, just to take away the rainwater. And here's me. Yeah, and here's me ditched right in front of it, right nose down. And it was like a movie. You couldn't have written this. It was like a movie. There was a state trooper at the corner watching the entire thing happen. And he comes over and he says, "You guys okay?" We're like, "Yeah, we're all right." He says, "By pure chance, see that there, that building? That's the ambulance depot." We're like, "What?" So we got out. We were in the middle of what then we found out was a tornado, yeah, or some sort of tornado hurricane thing. We then walk out. We go to the ambulance depot, and we're wrapped up in these tinfoil sheets. I was just like, "This is mental. This is just absolutely mental." The police officer was whatever state trooper, whatever he was, nicest guy ever. Nicest guy. He says, "Don't worry about that. We'll have your car pulled out." And literally within about half an hour, the car's pulled out the ditch and it's sitting there ready to go. We're just like, what is going on? It was like a movie, and it was unbelievable.
The strain I've ever experienced in my life was an absolute apocalyptic thunderstorm in Chimney Rock in North Carolina. And it was literally went from sun splitting stones to the end of the world within 5 minutes. Like the main street through the town just literally turned into a river. It was crazy. The restaurant we were going to go and eat in 20 minutes later, the roof of the kitchen actually collapsed. They had to close the place. It was absolutely insane.
But Connor, we're not used to that. We're just not. I mean, we used to crap weather. I mean, we used to it raining all the time.
We used to just rain all the time, not a month's worth of rain falling in 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Totally. Just get it over with. That's what it is. Well, y'all made me feel at home because the last 2 times I went to Ireland were the last 2 hurricanes that hit the island.
Stormophilia.
Both of them, and I was driving through Cork the day it hit Cork, and I was driving through Sligo the day it hit Sligo. I'm like, I couldn't script it better if I had tried.
Brilliant, absolutely.
You're making me feel real at home.
They do say everywhere you go, always take the weather with you.
That's right.
No, really, really random. I'm sorry we really deviated there, but look, I'm waiting for him to come back to me on an answer. But like the French. The French wine cask, he hasn't come back yet. French wine cask. Are we liking it, Connor? Is it something we can drink?
Oh yeah, I mean definitely, yeah.
I was actually shocked. So the first time I tried this, I didn't know if I was going to like it because I'm kind of wary of wine cask finishes, direct wine cask finishes. I'm also aware that if it's and it says French oak, and sometimes I find that French oak. It's a really hardy wood, and sometimes the oak itself can cause
the heavy tannin.
Yeah,
doing it, it can kind of, it's almost an off taste in it.
Yeah.
Like I know some people like it, but for me, and I do find that with Hungarian oak as well, compared to the American Curtis Alba, like which gives that kind of sweet vanilla kind of coming through more. I actually like that. That for me actually reminds me of just a really nice dry sherry you'd have before a meal.
It's yeah, and do you know what? A dry sherry is actually quite interesting in comparison. I get a little bit of kind of grass, fresh cut grass on the taste, which I like. Again, super different. It's a million miles away from the last three now on the taste. But it has a slightly similar nose as the Reconciliation, but the taste completely different. Very hard to find the same types of notes. I actually get like an unripe banana more than I get an apple of any description. So that's my fruit kind of note here. But I get that grassy kind of note. There's and I get a different type of oak experience, and it's not high end spice. It's really kind of like, it's like a deeper kind of nuttier kind of note, which I'm getting. Yeah, I do like it. It's just, I'd still go back to the Girona at the moment. I'm still going back there. We've got some comments on here. What have we got? Oh God, love you, Graham. I'm so sorry. Amazon had been really good for most of December. Had done really well getting stuff out. I have no idea what Amazon's on, doing at the moment. And here, Mr. Moho, yes, you made it. You made it indeed. Good. I know that some people, it depends where you are in the country and where you are in the world, but some people are working right now, which is perfectly fine. That's okay. If you have to work and take a drink, yeah, just make sure you're not driving heavy machinery. You're all right. We'll wait for him to come back on that one, but we will move on. So we've got the 8th wonder of the world, which I think is really kind of fun. Cast strength this time 55%. So we are at number 11, I think, number 11, or at least number 12 of the 13 releases. So he's going to finish off. There'll be 13 releases in total, and you can buy the whole collection. Looks really nice side by side. All these colourful labels. Looks really nice. He's also made a commitment for everyone who can prove that they have the whole collection of the Friend at Hand. There's a nice little thing at the end of that. There's a nice kind of like gift. Whether or not you can purchase it or it's free, I don't know. But there's some sort of thing at the end of this series of 13, which will complete the set, I think. But yeah, he's got this one, which is the Causeway coast here. So the Causeway, Giant's Causeway picture on the front, and he deems this being the 8th wonder, our 8th wonder. And it says here, a battalion of black basalt, arm in arm, standing tall, shoulder to shoulder, battered yet immovable, interlocked, impenetrable, strong like the cask this aged spirit came from, volcanic in origin and in character. 13 giants, this is our 8th. Okay. So yeah, 55%, and again, just bourbon cask. Right, so no mucking about. No mucking about here at all. Big and bold. Not very often you come across a cast strength Bushmills. Now what we do know is we've got loads of that coming through the Causeway collection, and yet this one here, 13 years old, 55%, is probably pound for pound, the best value Bushmills cast strength that you're going to be able to purchase. I used this specifically for my experiments using Buckfast and Iron Brew and Gin and WKD Blue caskings through the summer, and there's a good reason for it, because it's a hardy, massive flavoured and quality Bushmills. And if we can, bless me, if we can manipulate that and still get the flavors, then we did rightly. And I think, Connor, did you take part in that? Did you take a shot at the Buckfast casks?
No, that wasn't me.
No, it was a very interesting experiment, and we're actually I'm kind of progressing that. I've got a whole thing on just now where I'm looking at lots of different casks, and the manipulation of different flavors. And there's a whole group of guys within the Whiskey Club who are looking to have their own casks and doing some stuff at home. I just think it's good fun. I think there's a lot of people out there who have maybe infinity bottles. I know people have now started infinity casks. So there's like a whole, there's definitely like a whole kind of movement in there, doing stuff yourself, and creating the kind of flavour profile that you want to have, which is really nice, and you can do it at home. They're not overly expensive, these casks, and they can be used multiple times, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't take very long to get the kind of finish that you want. So this, if we went back to the reconciliation, it's just taking it cast strength. It shouldn't be much of a difference, and yet the spicy note, it's much spicier on the nose.
Huge vanilla on the nose.
Huge, very much so.
Kind of fruit salad that you do on the reconciliation. It's not just as kind of fresh on the nose. It's kind of deeper, spicier, less fruity.
Wow. Like really, really powerful. Like a lot of alcohol. And yet that superb, the fruit holds up directly with that heat. The finish on most of these isn't long. I mean, it's not long finishes. Going back to the peated one, it kind of lingers a little bit longer in the mouth. We'd probably expect that. And yet we've got, I think for the cast strength, that is a lot of heat. It's a lot, but it remains. I think that's remaining the longest so far in the mouth. And maybe it's because of that heat. Maybe it's because of that amount of alcohol. Quick questions here. Mickey, any idea when the 13th will be released? No, I don't. But I'm assuming, look, they released 2 within lockdown. So I don't think they're frightened to release liquid, during lockdown. They will. There's and we're going to talk about a couple of the other bottles just now. So I think that we might see that very soon. I think they want to have that kind of wrapped up. And I suppose there'll be another project. I think that's what's been talked about. But yeah, we'll find out. Graham, size of barrel. What size of barrels did we use? So we used, and Graham, I was coming back to that. So we used 2 litre Hungarian virgin oak cask is what we used. So I'm in the process of through Whiskey Craft IE through John Daly, and fair play to John, has put some effort in and really helped me out with the whiskey festivals. So thank you very much, John. John has access to these Hungarian oaks and also French oaks. So I know I talked about a minute ago about the French oak, and it is a tougher wood. So I'm going to try some experiments. We're buying in plenty. I think we're buying in up to about 50 different casks, different sizes, 2 litres and 5 litres, and then we're putting in lots of different variants of cask seasoning. So we'll be using Madeiras, and we'll be using Pedro Jimenez. We'll be using rums. Lots of different people with lots of different tasting profiles will be creating their own taste. But yeah, great opportunity for us to work on something for the summer. And yes, Graham, if you're wanting into that, let us know, because it's a bulk order, so we're able to bring the cost down a little bit, keep the costs just right for people. And yes, Kieran, the life of it, I'm not sure about that. It's It's what, 3:20, and we're drinking away. We're having some nice alcohol. What do we make of that, Richard? We're liking that. Yeah, it's a big hitter, eh?
Absolutely, I love the finish on it. It's a real belly warmer.
Yep, very, very much so. I know, Charlie, you're not getting the chance to taste it just now, but had you tasted it before? Have you had this before?
No, I haven't, but I will sit down and taste it when I feel a little better.
Yeah.
I will update you on how I feel and what I think.
Good. Oh, thank you. Well, I hope
I just added a few drops of water there and it opened it up really lovely.
Again, so you added a little bit of water, yeah?
Just a few drops, and it's kind of taken down the alcohol burn a bit, and it's just kind of opened up the fruit and vanilla.
Yeah, I'll happily do that.
Me, anyway.
Again, it's just big bold fruit. There's those big fruity apples in there. Apples, and then fruit salad. Did you say a fruit salad?
Yeah, kind of when you put like your natural yogurt through apples and kind of tangerines and stuff.
No, I do. I like that. I like that indeed. What have we got? Oh, right. I'm wondering whether or not what order we take these now in, so we don't have to go directly into the Redbreast. I don't think. Maybe we go to number 30. We go to the Powers 14-year-old single cask. Yeah, so we go for bottle number 30, and it's a single cask, single pot still Powers 14-year-old. I need to find my bottle. Where's my book?
The box there off it.
Powers 29 white orange. Okay. Okay. So did you guys do this the other day? Did you guys? Some of you would have had this in some of their boxes, I think. What we have now at the moment is they have the one Powers single cask, which is they're about to have their second Powers single cask. So,
what age statement is the second one going to be? Do you know?
Pass. I think it might just be the same. I do, if again. Yeah, and do you know what? I think it's just going to the same cover. They miss a trick. But they miss a trick there. I have a slight criticism of that, because I think my slight criticism would be that they have other establishments there. Yes, that's the friend at hand, but they have other establishments. So they have
York or something like that.
The Duke of York, the Hart Bar, and the Dark Horse. So they have other establishments that they could have used. They have a courtyard, which is really nice, which again would look lovely on the box. And they also have this alleyway, which would look really nice on the box. So they maybe miss a trick, because I know that other people, when they've gone to second and third bottlings, they've changed the boxes. So I know they've done that. But they will have their second Powers cask, and they will release that very soon. There's no doubt about that. But I think, look, I mean, there's so many of these single casks, so many of these Power single casks all around Ireland, and I'm probably really, really biased, but I think what's really good is that it doesn't really matter what I say. It's what the people who have been coming to Belfast to purchase it have said, and and I've taken on board that this is really one of the best power single casks available for the taste price, and again probably for the price point, you know. Oh, and like I really like that, like a really nice white peppery note, but it's a little bit pink grapefruit or something there as well, which is really nice. Yep, I'm liking that. Did you have this the other day, Richard? Was this part of the box we were tasting?
This is from the Dreamcast Splendid Hands from the summer one.
Yeah, from the summer,
so,
yeah.
I actually pulled my bottle. I still had half of a taster from that one, so I don't have to open it. But yeah, I'm loving it. This is one of my favorites.
I hasten to say I have tasted a fair few of the Powers. I am a fan of Powers, and I will keep saying that I really like Powers whiskey. I think it's really, really good. And yes, I've been fortunate to try, like the cast strength version of the John's Lane, but and also a very old 30-year-old from pre-70s.
Yeah,
but
the model,
yeah.
Based in the summer, yeah.
But I'm liking this. Like if someone says here, is there a go-to Powers? I think for the price point, it's probably just about right. Because of what it is, and it's a little bit special. But you would like it cheaper. Maybe as a measure in the bar, you'd maybe like it a wee bit cheaper. But yeah, when we did this tasting, we actually used this in 2019 at the festival, which was physical in Belfast, and we had a Powers tasting. And I said to Joe McGowan, who was doing the tasting for it, I said, do whatever you want, do all your Powers, blah, blah, but do me a favour. I'm going to give you the bottle from the friend at hand. Can you make sure you use that? And he says, no, thanks so much. Go ahead. And because it's slightly different, it's not his stock. He can go to IDL and pull out Power stock, but once it goes to a single cask and it goes to the shop or it goes to the restaurant or the bar, whoever has commissioned it belongs to them. Doesn't belong to the distillery anymore. And I says, look, you must do this. And by pure chance, there was a group of Americans, military personnel, I think, that had come into the bar, into the Duke of York when we were doing the tasting. And, they were like, here, can we join? And I was like, yes, anyone can join, go ahead. So they absolutely loved it. They lapped it up. They were all over it. And again, it was up. It stood next to the part. It was within that tasting. It was like, so the Powers John's Lane. The special reserve was there. I think it was was LVA even on that list? I'm not sure, but there was lots of Powers, and I think that this just stood out. It really has a really different kind of taste profile. Has that DNA, that oiliness, that kind of pot stilly. It's not for this one though. It's not too heavy. It just seems a little bit lighter.
It's drier. Like I had the Temple Bar 14-year-old single cask a couple of days ago, and that was like an amped up John's Lane. In that it still had that big kind of spicy, sweet kind of finish on it. This is much more dialed back on that end. This is kind of almost like, this reminds me more of kind of some of the older kind of 70s and 60s pot stills, where you're still getting that complexity from the sherry cask coming through, but it's kind of got a kind of a drier, less sugary kind of finish on it.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
And having it directly after that cask strength, this going back and knocking down to a 46 proof, you get less of the alcohol and you get more of the flavors. So the flavors are really coming through a lot more predominantly on this than maybe if this was your first one out of the box. But I really like it. It's just a bag. And yeah, you said the oily. I can feel it coating the roof of my mouth.
Yeah,
it's definitely lingering.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, you've got different levels of pot still and the kind of heaviness of it, and it's not, to me, it's not the heaviest. It's, you know, it's kind of medium heavy. You know, it's kind of medium to heavy in there. I think it's just for me, it's just right. There's a good balance of the oils. Yeah, I do like it, and it's really hard because I think that I don't, you know, not that you don't want to like it, but you don't want to like give it too much. You know, you don't want to praise it too much. But actually, it's not even me that's saying it. You know, when we've done these side by side tastings and we've given people the opportunity to do it, you know, and score it and stuff, you know, it scores really highly. Like, it's a very well liked whiskey by a lot of people. No, Graham, there's nowhere, just the shop. Nothing from the Friend at Hand is selling online, unless it's been done second market or whatever. It's not being sold online. We'll move on to the. Sorry, Connor.
I got my bottle through Anthony.
Yeah.
Because in the middle of lockdown, like, couldn't actually go up to Belfast.
Well, that's it. You know, the whiskey auctions, some of the whiskey pages are you know, a godsend for some people. I just like this idea of being able to go to the shop, and because you get that experience in the shop, you'll get lots of other like opportunities to buy other whiskies as well, and get to talk to people and hearing a little bit more about it. You know, the guys there taste it, so they all taste the whiskey in the shop. They're the ones that pick the casks, so those casks are not picked just by the distillery. In fact, they're actually directly picked by Paul O'Hare and Willie Jack, and sometimes Rab or Ray or whoever else is there. You know, they get the opportunity to taste those samples that are coming through and then pick the right cask. By pure chance, they could be the most luckiest people ever, or have the right kind of taste buds that suit me. That every cask they've picked so far has just been a winner. You know, which is a bit of luck. We'll move on to the number 31, which is the Middleton. We'll move on to that, the Middleton 1999. I found that somewhere. Drew, I'm not sure if I am the hardest working person in whiskey. I'm definitely not. There's no chance. There's bound to be other people out there. Bound to be other people. Yes, Graham. Well, that's good. If you know, once lockdown is good, yeah, we'll be able to get out and about, won't we? And yes, Mickey, cast strength John Lane's was great. Maybe at some point they'll release it properly. Have you had much? Say again, Connor.
Or the red breast.
The style cast strength, yeah. I'm interested. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in anything at cast strength because it lets you manipulate it. But there's a tasting on in the south, which is the Bushmills 21-year-old cast strength. So I've seen, you know, so that someone is doing that in the south. I think Ali at Celtic Whiskey Shop has managed to pull that one off. So that'd be pretty cool. Bushmills 21 at cast strength. Have you had much of the Middletons, Richard? Have you had much of the Middleton range? Select casks?
I have quite a few bottles of them that are all still unopened, waiting for that right moment.
Yeah, do you know what? You just need, what you need is lots of extended family to have weddings and then gift them and then tell them to open them. That's what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of the single casks that I'm just dying to crack open, and probably New Year's Eve I'm going to hit one of them.
Good. For me, and I'll keep saying it because I think it's the right thing to say, I'm not a massive fan of the MVRs. Not that I dislike them. I'm just not a massive fan, you know. But I'm taken aback by the likes of Barry Crockett. I'm taken aback by a lot of these different single cask offerings from Middleton. You know, I really am. I was lucky enough to be invited to Blake's the Hollow down in Enniskillen, a bar down in Enniskillen, who has some really old power stuff down there, really old stuff, and they have their own single cask Middleton, and for me, that is the, you know, probably the best Middleton I've tasted. I really like the trees, and I really like the last series of trees. I did I've been lucky enough to do the side by sides, but the last set, the Knockrath, brilliant. But this would be a good, for me, a very good Middleton, you know, and it's where I think Middleton can be, you know, particularly because it's not a cask strength. It's at 46%. Again, just bourbon barrels. You know what I mean? You know, we're only using bourbon barrel. I love that vanilla note. I love the spice on this. It comes across as an aged whiskey. It's actually has a bit of depth to it. I tend to find that the powers that we've just had is, although it's really nice and tastes nice, if you close your eyes and you try and pitch it at you know, at an age, I'm not sure if it gets to that 14 in my head. I think it kind of comes across as quite young, but actually there's a lot of Powers liquid which comes across for me quite young. So I'm not sure if that's because it's in that kind of bracket already, but this comes across having some really nice over notes, which are, you know, that this kind of, it definitely is like a, you know, bourbon cask that vanilla, but it's like a more of a, it's not a fresh vanilla, you know, it's nearly like a kind of creme brulee kind of thing going on there, which is really nice. And then there's like really nice strawberries or whatever. It's like red, you know, it's kind of red fruit, spicy red fruit in there. Yeah, I like that. Might not be to everyone's taste because of the spice on it, but you know, I'm appreciating it.
A lot of the ideal stuff is that it's very complex, that if you just give a simple crack on a once over, you really miss the complexity of it. It's one of those you have to really take 4 or 5 long, lingering sips of to really appreciate the depth of it.
Yeah, and a good glass of it, Richard. You know, I think that's the whole point about handing out these measures at this, the amount of alcohol you've got there. I know that some people are still saying they've got stuff in the summer. That's good because it's allowing you to go back and reflect upon it. There should be enough liquid in there for you to sit down and, you know, really devote a little bit of time to understanding it. Yes, I'm okay, and I'm all for, if you want to drink it, drink. Do what you need to do. But actually, we've given you 50 mils for a good reason. It's not just because I'm a generous guy. It's because I think that you need that amount of alcohol to understand what you've been drinking. Now, for some of those measures, you'll pour them down the sink because they're useless and they maybe weren't great and you didn't like them. Okay, I'm okay. I'll put them in a cocktail at least. Don't ruin it. But for those that you want to come back to, and those that you want to, like, you know, try again and again, you know, you should have enough liquid there. Unfortunately, I've been to some tastings, either live, personal, or stuff has been sent to me as gifts, and you know, I've maybe just had the opportunity just for one sip, and I've kind of gone, I needed more, because that one sip, I didn't have enough time to fully explore it. And when you talk about people who, there's guys out there who review whiskies. I'm not one of those guys who does that. I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I certainly make enough notes and enough. I certainly try and bank a lot of stuff. You know, but thousands of whiskies I've tasted. But when you try and bank it all, you know, and remember it. But it's important to have more than just a sip. Like, to understand it. And a lot of these guys who are like writers, bloggers, whatever they are, you know, influencers, whatever they want to be called, you know, really probably need 50 mils. And if they don't have 50 mils, then they're kind of skating around the whiskey. You know, they're kind of did you get the full impression? Did you get the full thing? And actually, sometimes I know some guys who do some writing, and they won't write something unless they have, maybe 100 mils to write about, which I think is a lot of alcohol. But if you're doing a couple of reviews, it's a lot. But I think that 50 mils is just about right. Charlie, you've been doing a lot of blogging, yes. You've been doing a lot of writing about the whiskies and stuff. Do you find that you need a bit more alcohol? Do you think a bit more liquid in the bottle?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question, because I started blogging because I wanted to learn how to taste better. I wanted to learn how to nose better. I wanted to learn how to describe my whiskey in a better way, and I see myself evolving in that way. So it has helped a lot. I have been to a lot of tastings this year, and some tasting has been almost 2 centiliters. Some tastings has been 3 centiliters. Some tastings has been 5 centiliters. And I'm a small woman, so I can do with 3 centiliters. That's not a problem. But I see your point, and I also think that you should have enough alcohol to, in my case, go back a second time. Because the notes I find the first time I taste it isn't necessarily the same as the notes I get from tasting it the second time. So, having a sample of almost 2 centiliters is actually just a waste of time and money and whiskey, because it doesn't give me anything.
Yeah, well, that's the impression I get from people who want to express themselves and express their feelings with the whiskey, that they probably need more to drink it. And I think my mantra has been since going online and providing whiskey out to people, is that if we can get different with our club nights. I'll be honest, the club tastings are slightly different. Club tastings are around about 35 ml, and that's important. They're free poured. They're hand poured into glasses if they're in a room, or indeed into bottles. And I think that's probably because it's a constant thing. Like, we're always just going to be constantly do it. This is slightly different. This is like a one-off events and one-off opportunities. But and I don't expect people. Hopefully, I don't expect people to drink 950 mils in the space of 2 hours. That would be absolutely manic. I'm sure some people have done it, but I'm not expecting people to do that.
But I also think that the club tasting is dangerous, because a club tasting is a tasting, yes, but it is just as much the social part of it.
Yes.
While when you do things like this, it's, of course, it's social, but it's mainly about whiskey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and 100%. And I don't expect people within our whiskey club, within Belfast Whiskey Club, to be examining to the point where they're writing a thesis about the whiskey. So I want them to enjoy the whiskey, drink the whiskey, and then move on to the next whiskey and keep going. So they don't have to go back, because we wouldn't do that in a pub setting, would we? We wouldn't do that in the pub. I mean, we wouldn't do that if we're in a restaurant, sharing whiskies. We just wouldn't spend the time, writing books about it. We're going to move on then to the friend at hand, number 29, friend at hand, Redbreast, 25-year-old single cask. Is Redbreast orange, number 29. Yes. Just the color of this alone, just makes you want to drink. It's just a great color, isn't it? It's just like this Coca-Cola, flat Coke. I just feel very privileged that I can actually drink this, and I've been able to drink it a couple of times already. It's just very, very good.
finishing my sample off from the other day because I don't want to crack the other one open.
Same here.
Really?
I even had half a sample from the summer.
Do you know what's very tough? Like, you know, there's some bottles out there, you know, that, or, you know, some whiskies that come out and there's maybe, I don't know, maybe there's 200 bottles, okay? And there's other ones that there's maybe 600 bottles. And there's other ones that are like 1,000 bottles, and then we've got multiple 30,000, 40,000 releases, right? Because it's just rolling off the production line. But see these ones that are in around that kind of 200 bottle mark, once you've drunk it, you feel really bad that you've done it. You know, if it's a good one, I'll be honest, if it's a good one. If it's a bad one, I don't think you have any, you know, you don't have a secondary thought. But if it's a good one, you do, you think about it, and then you kind of panic a little bit, and you kind of go, well, right, I should have got another one. Yeah? And then you go to that kind of 600 bottle mark, and then you're like, oh, don't worry, we'll get another one. There'll be another one there. It's okay. And then actually, you tend to find that even there, they've kind of sold out. The Friend at Hand Redbreast is the exception to that. That I've managed to finish off 10 bottles, give or take, maybe a little bit more. I can't remember, but at least 10. And yet there's still bottles left.
Personally,
well, no, but shared with as many people as possible. But you know, it's funny enough that it's still there. You know, that you can, even though there's only 600 bottles, give or take, that it's still available. And I'm very glad that it is, because it allows me to go back and purchase more. But it's just one of those strange ones. I kind of think, I kind of worry that because you physically have to come to Belfast to get it, that it's not going out to everyone, or it's not getting to everyone that could be buying it. And particularly when I look at other bottles that have been purchased for more than that and maybe aren't as good as, and yet it's still managing to survive in the shop.
I think it's the inaccessibility of it to a degree.
Yes.
It does click that. And I think it's underrated massively because it hasn't been as widely disseminated, shall we say, as the other ones.
Yeah, no, I think you're quite right. What have we got? We've got people say, you love the Friend at Hand powers, Matt. You want who wants to send one to the States? Yep, that's very good. What you want to be doing is you know, I think they take an order, but you have to come and physically pick it up, or get someone else to physically pick it up. But I know they did a big order for Japan, and they've done that before. And people will phone in advance. I believe, you know, people have literally phoned in to pick up Friend at Hand product and head away again. So even, you know, people with a bit of money. Yeah, you drank the friend, right? That's it. That's great. And so you drank the Friend at Hand Redbreast at Christmas, and it was a wee present to yourself. Good, and it is fantastic stuff. Yeah. Brilliant. There you go. Look, and someone's now gonna split the cost with them. Get a bottle out to the States, and that powers as well worth getting out there. The Friend at Hand though, that spicy note is just super on the nose, and it's very, very inviting. It wants you to come in and just lap it all up. Out of all of those whiskies that we've had before, the nose on this for me is just perfect. Like I love the vanilla. I really do. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love the vanilla. I love those big green apples, and even when we've had a little hint of smoke, I like all of that. Like, and I genuinely do love vanilla note. And even the smell of perfume with vanilla in it, I really, really like. But I don't know what it is about this. This nose is just, it's just mind blowing. You know, it to me, it's a standout nose. There's not, and again, actually, there was a similarity with one of the other Redbreasts I had recently. There's a similarity, but most of the Redbreasts don't have this nose. So it stands out. such a mouthful, so big.
Redbreast is what got me into Irish whiskeys, and it's still my go-to. It's my everyday drinker is the Redbreast, that little Estau.
Yep.
And I just love Redbreast. I got such a soft spot for it, and every one of the cask strengths. I've only ever been disappointed with one of them, and it was one that I just really did not enjoy. It was a very young little cask at a Celtic whiskey shop, but all the other ones have just been outstanding, including like the 27, the 30, and all the other ones. It's been part of my whiskey journey, is going through from drinking the Jameson up to Redbreast, up to cask strengths, and then exploring the other whiskeys that are out there. But I still keep coming back to Redbreast. It's just, there's something in the flavor profile that just hits a bullseye for me.
Yeah, oh, very much so. And I suppose that slightly interesting is that you have this is obviously sherry cask, full sherry cask. And then we sure the other evening we had the 30-year-old full port, but and we've got a mixture of some of the Redbreast now have sherry and port, using both casks. I think for me is the overall kind of DNA of the Redbreast. Whether or not it's every Redbreast has the same mash bill, we know that's not true because they all have deviating mash bills. And again, they all deviate in the types of maybe casks that are being used. But it's, for me, there's something special about a Redbreast. And again, more so, and again, happy enough to go and drink from the rest of IDL. I'm happy to drink Middletons, happy to drink Powers, in fact, really happy to drink Powers. The Meth and Madness stuff is good fun. But the spot range is good. The spot range is really good. And I really like that cask strength 7-year-old blue spot recently. Really found that interesting. But I'm a go-to. First ever Redbreast I ever had, or first ever Irish whiskey I had, was a Redbreast 15-year-old. I didn't realise it was a 12. I was given the 15 as a drink to drink. And I'll be honest, I'd take the 12 over the 15. That's my personal choice. I'd take the 12-year-old cask strength over the 12. And I'd take the 12-year-old cask strength over the majority of Redbreasts until this one, really. This one, and now the 30-year-old port, and also the 28-year-old dream cask. They're probably where I want to be, and I really like them. I liked the tempo the other night as well. That was really nice. But yeah, I find this very hard, even when I compare it to a lot of Scotch whisky that I really love, and absolutely adore a lot of different Scotch whiskies, a lot of different variants. This is hard for me to say no to.
What I also like about the Redbreast line is, like, when you're first starting to drink alcohols in general, you start off with the 40%, then you go to the 43 and the 46. You don't just start off with cask strength. You build yourself up.
No.
And Redbreast really can take you through every step of the way, between the 12, the 15, the 21, the 12 cask strengths, and then the single cask Redbreasts. They're just really stepping stones to get you higher and higher into the world of whiskey, and also gets you inured to the prices to pay. People who say, "I'll just spend $30 for a bottle of booze," that's insane. And then you start buying the 15s at $100, and then you go to the 21s at about $200 or $300, and then you go to the single cask at $350, then you go to the 27 at $500. So after a while, you realize, 100 pounds isn't a lot for a bottle of whiskey, right?
No. Precisely that. It's actually
establish your palate though as well when you go through that progression. Like for example, and I'll give a bourbon example here. I've had all the Pappy Van Winkles, but despite everyone going on about the 20 and 23, the 15 for me is the sweet spot. That's the one that hits all the marks for me.
I thought the same too. I've had the entire Pappy line. In fact, it was at the Dublin Whiskey Festival. The Dublin Whiskey Live that they had the Pappy tasting, and I thought the 15 was just the dried spot. Anything other than that, it was, the price just wasn't there for what they're charging for it. On the secondary market.
But it's like, unless you actually have tried from across the range of whatever whiskey you want to actually pick, you're not going to be fully educated, full stop, on what is possible and what's achievable. But you're not going to find out what is my actual palate, what is my actual palate, and what is it that actually hits completely the right spot for me.
No, you're spot on, Connor. The question that was asked earlier on was about that French oak and what was being used. So the answer that came back was a Bordeaux wine cask had been used. That's the only answer I have here. That doesn't necessarily help very much, but it's a Bordeaux wine cask, which came back there. I mean, I'm not a wine expert, and I'm not like, well, is there? I suppose there's white and red Bordeaux casks. Is there?
Bordeaux usually would be more associated with red. Probably.
Well, there you go. Well, look, I'm not a massive wine drinker or enthusiast.
Well, I suppose Sauvignon Blanc would be a Bordeaux. Yeah, it might be Sauvignon Blanc. Who knows?
Right, we like that then. We like the friend at hand, 25-year-old. There wasn't nothing bad about that, was there? No. Ugh, no. It really does want. It just wants to be drunk. It's one of the most inviting smells ever, and people really need to get that. Like, do you know what? At this time of year, it's just great because it's Christmassy spice. I could splash that on my wrists and just walk about.
It's like Christmas baking spice, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and all that, and as it warms up in your hand, like, you just get more of that as well. Like, and it's just, yeah.
I think we're missing a trick here. This should be a spray-on cologne, and it should be.
If you want all the guys following you around, sure.
All those friends at Middleton boys, come on, lick my face.
And the guards, when they stop you at a checkpoint, pulling you out because they think you've been drinking.
Oh my God! Do you know what? Fun enough, seem you do lots of pouring. I mean, all of this was done by hand. So when you're pouring, sometimes you make a spillage, maybe you make a mistake. But I was pouring one. I can't remember what bottle I was using, but the neck on the bottle wasn't great for the pouring, and it kept on dripping backwards. But it really did drip along the whole length of the bottle. And when I finally had finished pouring this bottle, I was looking at myself going, I am soaking here. And it was just a big pile of wet. But for the entire day, I just smelled of the whiskey. That's all I smelled of. It was just my trousers were sodden in whiskey. Last one is a bit of a treat, I think, here, because what happened was this last one here should have been another Middleton. So, friend at hand have another Middleton, which has been released at the moment, and it was meant to be released prior to these boxes being sent, and it was, because if people took heed, they actually did an online launch, and they launched it before these boxes started to go out. And we would have had in this box that bottle. However, there was a misprint on the label. And the label, every bottle was then sent back from Belfast back to the bottling plant. So actually, although they've launched the bottle and people got to taste it and reviewed it, it will not be on sale until at least, I suppose now, probably until the end of January, by the time they get it back. So a wee bit disappointing not to have another bottling in there for just a friend at hand. However, I thought I'd make up with that by putting in a 20-year-old Dunville's, which I believe sold out in a couple of seconds. There was only a run of 190 odd bottles.
It's the one from last week, yeah. That just went out last.
Yes,
week.
that's right. Yeah. So that's it. So it's Pedro. You got a bottle there. Good on you, Richard.
That's amazing. I really wanted to taste that whiskey.
Well, it's in your box, so it's in your box.
I got the PX and I got the Palo Cortado.
I have the Port Morant.
Good whiskies here. That I like the rum one as well. I do. I mean, I do like. I like them all so far. This one is the cross between it's the hybrid PX and Oloroso casks that are being used. Yep. Look, very different color to that of the red breast. It's got a red kind of reddy hue on it. Really kind of red kind of hue coming through there. Yep. Such a different nose. Someone was saying there's a slight botanically note on it.
Kind of get that. It's almost vegetal is the way I'd want to put it. Like, musty kind of vegetable note on it.
Yeah.
I get a gin undertone in it though. I can definitely smell the botanicals in it. You're right.
It's a botanical note, isn't it? Yeah. I like that though. I mean, I also like the fact I can get this kind of, licorice straight off the nose as well. Like I get like a red licorice.
A more star anise kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spice. Yep. That's spicy, and that's very, 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 very sweet. Lots of red fruit there. I like that. That was nice.
It's not listed on the card, but it's 50.
That kind of gin botanical thing really comes through on the palate. That's very kind of, that was all strange. Like, geez, this is complete conflict. Maybe having the friend at hand just beforehand mightn't have been a great idea, but that was just completely not going in the direction I was expecting.
Yeah. I mean, really strange. I mean, what we have here is we have obviously we have real aged whiskey. I mean, it's not 20-year-old whiskey. We're kind of different with the pot stills because we've kind of seen that now coming, with that. But the kind of older malts, and this would be Cooley liquid. I don't think it's Bushmills, so.
Yeah. And I can see that kind of Cooley DNA coming through in it.
I have no idea where they get the kind of botanical part of it, where it kind of comes in. One of those casks must be given off something which is really different, I don't think I've had a whiskey which has had the two casks being used together. I don't think so anyway. So this to me is a first, I think, I don't think it's... I have a really nice, it's like... I'm trying to think what type of cake it is, but I was eating a cake recently and it's got something in there. I kept on smelling... earlier on, I kept on smelling aloe vera, right? And I was like, what is that smell? And it was nothing to do with the whiskies I was drinking. I realised that it was on my hands. I'd used aloe vera hand wash. But it really threw me. It was throwing me off by a couple of whiskies. I was like, that's a really weird smell. I'm getting aloe vera here. But that cake note, I'm trying. It's like it's not like a ginger. It's not a gingerbread or a banana bread. Or, it's like a bacon. Do you know Jamaican ginger cake?
Yeah.
Did you? Maybe it is that, and it's on. Definitely
that's
taste.
Getting on the toes, certainly. Anyway.
Oh, it's nice.
You said that, and that took me right back to the islands. You're right. It does have a ginger cake, Jamaican flavor to it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's interesting because the pepper and the spices just stay on the front. They don't really go that
Yeah.
deep and stay on the tip of the tongue.
No.
It's
About.
like I'm just looking at the legs on it, and despite how long they are, it's not oily on the finish at all, and it's kind of all that spice is up front.
Yeah. No, you're quite right. Plenty. I mean,
fades out this like peppery kind of note on the finish, kind of, but all the spice is kind of up front.
But there's like at the very end, to me, my finish on this is like a blackberry. That's my finish. That's my finish note, which is really strange. I'm every time I taste it, that's all I'm getting at the very end. It's like a blackberry or like a blackberry conserve or something that's really like a like a jammy kind of finish at the end.
But it's slightly astringent at the same time. Yeah.
Yes, Connor. Yes.
Yeah.
And that, again, what cask is given that?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's very interesting.
No, I like that.
It's a whiskey you have to work with, work at it.
Maybe they accidentally poured in a bottle of feckin' gin.
I wouldn't say no to that. Like, would you? Wouldn't say no to that. I wouldn't say that. Although I'm not.
That Charlotte getting pissed and doing it for love.
I'm not doing feckin' gin later. I'm doing their trickle pot one. I'm doing their trickle pot gin later. But that's quite funny actually. Yeah. It's interesting. It's We've got another. They have another bottle coming that should have come out already, which is a 19-year-old. So I don't know when it sits to come out, but there's a 19-year-old coming, and I can't remember off by heart what casks are being used. But it'll be either. It probably will be an Oloroso cask, I think it is. A 19-year-old Oloroso cask. Potentially finished. Well, actually, maybe it's not finished. Maybe it's a different cask. He asked me to try it, and I'll be frank, I haven't actually tried it yet. So I haven't given him my feedback as to what it is. But I like that one. It's not the winner in my book. If I'm gonna go through this nine whiskies just now and go through the box, I'm gonna say this is my order of preference right now. It probably sounds really, really strange, but I'm gonna have the Redbreast up there, my number one, and slightly behind that, but just because of taste right now, I'm gonna go the Girona Gold, and then slightly behind that, I probably go with the Powers, and then I'll go the Dunvilles. Yeah, on taste, and then probably the Middleton. I mean, this is just tasting just now, and then cast strength, straight away, and then I would fall back. I would go peated. I would go the original, and then I'd probably finish with the wine at the end. But a lot of them are squeezed together, being very, very close together in terms of how I would approach it. But the standout for me is the Redbreast. That stands out amongst this crowd. Easy peasy.
The single most distinctive one, I would say, is this one. This is one of the most unusual whiskies I've had.
Unusual, isn't it? Unusual, but for me, it's not my favourite, and I think that's, this is something maybe I need to go and drink a whole bottle of it before I totally get it, understanding. You know what I mean? But it's not.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've been with whiskies like the Dunvilles PX 12-year-old cask strength.
Mm-hmm.
I found it overwhelming the first time I had it, and it was literally like I do actually have a bottle of it, but I had a 100 ml sample bottle of it, and it was only when I got to the last 30 mils of it that I kind of figured it out, if you know what I mean. And it was like, I actually really enjoy this. It kind of worked through it.
You worked on it. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And this, of course, goes back to your point about reviewing whiskies with 17.5 ml samples. Kind of, it's like, no, you really can't.
No.
With anything complex, you need to have a good whack of liquid to work with, because you have to sit on it, you have to think on it, you have to go away, leave it alone, come back to it. I mean, yeah.
Spot on. Listen, Moho's saying that he struggles with all the PXs. And should I go into the whiskey tube community? I could call myself the whiskey gypsy, seeing how I've been an adopted Irishman. That's a really interesting point. I don't know. Like I don't know. That'd be funny. Like, listen, I've enjoyed myself. I hope you have, Richard. Connor, I hope you have. Charlie, I hope you've enjoyed listening, and hopefully you get to drink at some point. Ricky Jones, I hope you've had a bit of crack there, son. And for everyone else on the YouTube, I'm going to come off the YouTube and Facebook just now, but thanks very much for all those comments. Great that some of you have been tuning in. And again, so many of you in the States getting involved, which has been great. And certainly a few throughout Ireland and a couple in Europe. So listen, thank you very much. I'll speak to you all soon on the YouTube and Facebook. I'll be back on at 6 o'clock with the gin. So it's 6 o'clock tonight, just in case people get confused. 6 o'clock tonight, all right? 2 hours time.